very good morning to Alice Stolz, Domain's Managing Editor. Alice, the all-important Domain Property Report is out and it shows that property prices are up pretty much across the country.
Yeah, it's been a really big week at Domain with the property report coming out, and we're seeing definitely an upswing in a lot of the markets, and particularly interestingly in Melbourne and Sydney. OK,
well, let's get straight into it and go to the median house price in Sydney.
So let's look at what's happening in the Sydney market here. We can see that house prices have gone up 4.8%, the median house price. And this is a $50,000 increase in the median house price in Sydney.
Wow.
And we can say that for now it's the steepest downturn since the 80s looks to be over as prices are starting to creep up again.
So this is just in the past couple of months,
That's right, in the past quarter, exactly.
OK, so how high can it go?
Well, look, I think we've definitely seen an uptick in what they have been, but I would not expect to have the heady heights of what we saw late in 2017 happen again. I think we will start to see gradual increases, but it will definitely be more moderate than what we have seen historically.
And we've also seen some positive signs for the Melbourne market as well. What have we seen?
Melbourne market is also up. It's up 4.1% for houses and 3.1% for units. Huge. And it is a record high for unit prices in Melbourne and the strongest quarterly gain of all the capital cities for units. And again, the increase in house price marks the end of another downturn the Melbourne market has seen. And a lot of this is due to the strong population growth we're seeing in Melbourne and the confidence in the job market also. So
do you think Melbourne does seem to be edging closer to Sydney now?
It's definitely the big question, and it's definitely having growth at a speed above Sydney at the moment. But if it's going to crack the $1 million mark, it's too early to say yet. But I do think in the future, obviously we know population growth will be strong in the future for Melbourne. So I would expect it to go in that direction.
Crazy, there's city rivalry. Even when it comes to
it's going to continue forever.
Yeah, who's got the biggest bank?
That's right. Brizzy was on a run like the State of Origin, well, flourishing, but like State of Origin, again, they've been a little disappointing.
It's had a dip. So house prices are down about 1% in the Brisbane market and 3.4% in unit prices. So this is due to the high level of apartment supply. And we know that Queensland has the highest levels of interstate migration, but it's still not enough to counter the amount of new construction pushing prices down. But, you know, Brisbane's north has been the only place where prices have grown, and it's gone up by 1.77% in the north of Brisbane.
So it seems like we're still sort of gearing up for that Brizzy boom that we've been talking about now pretty much for years, it feels like. The boom is coming, the boom is coming. So we've got the houses now, we just don't have the market to support it,
but
is that right?
It's definitely challenging when the supply is just, they've been so inundated with supply. It's hard for that to change, what's happening with the prices there.
So we just need that, obviously, that migration to keep on happening to catch up.
Yep, and perhaps the supply to slow down a little bit too.
Right.
Adelaide just seems to be good old Adelaide, being steady as she goes.
It's a steady child that just sort of pitters along
the third child
each quarter basically. But it's seen a 0.6% drop in house prices to 539,000. But basically the market is a steady long-term performer despite these drops and has been making steady gains since mid-2013. So I think the challenge with quarterly data is that it's just a snapshot, it's a window on one quarter. It's more interesting when we look at things annually, so we can actually see a pattern forming over time.
Oh, but it's nice to know, isn't it?
It is.
Perth still struggling as
well. Perth still struggling. We've seen a 1% drop in houses in Perth, down to 527,000. But it's a buyer's market, but that pace of fall is slowing. And prices are lower, obviously, than the 2014 record high in the city. And, you know, and will we ever see that heyday again? Who knows? But it's definitely a more challenging market.
I've really enjoyed learning about, you know, your Hobarts and your Canberras, sort of those smaller regional cities, but they're really strong.
Yeah, and we talked about Hobart the other week, and that's had extraordinary growth, but it is still one of the most affordable capital cities. It is the most affordable capital city for a house in Australia. It's the best performing capital city for capital growth is Hobart, and unit prices there have overtaken Brisbane for the first time ever. We looked down at Canberra. They've had a drop again this quarter, but it is 0.6% higher than what this was this time last year. And Darwin, house and units are still being affected by weak economic conditions and the post-mining boom. And unit prices took a hit of 3.3%, but houses jumped 1%.